Hello everyone, I have this Territory Diesel SC and I'm having problem with the high pressure in fuel rail. Initially I tried changing the fuel pressure sensor, it didn't work. If you want to check out my other video where I did that, you can see over there. Now I'm planning to take out the high pressure fuel pump because I've narrowed down to it, and it looks like that's the way to go. So I may have a problem with either my fuel valve control, fuel volume control, or they call it suction control, or I may have the problem with the fuel pressure control valve. So both of these valves are integrated into high pressure fuel pump, which is right over here, right behind that. So I'm gonna remove it and see whether if I can fix it, or otherwise I have to go for a rebuild. So to remove it, I don't think that I need to remove my PCM and these cables, but there is that tray which actually holds this cable. So I need to take this out. To take it out, there is a clip over here, and one over here, and one at the back. So I either have to pry them out or cut these stable ties loose so that I can put them back on later on. Once they're out, we have two bolts over here, one, and another over here too. So after that, this whole cable harness and this tray should be out, and we'll have a better visibility of what we're looking at. Okay, so I've removed the bracket over here that was held by two 8mm bolts. I was able to free this harness as well, but it looks like the harness is going all the way to the left and over to this right hand section of the engine. Apart from that, there is this coolant crossover pipe which I need to remove. So Hans maybe suggested that we can just probably unplug, disconnect the pipe and hose over there and over here, and probably just clamp these ends to minimize the loss of coolant. But I'm thinking to just drain the coolant because it's really easy on this car. So all you need is a suitable diameter pipe and just take it up at the bottom. So let's see. I've already removed this lower splash plate earlier. So yeah, here it is. So just fit in. I have a spare bottle. So what I'll do is I'll just put it underneath it, and I'll just unscrew, slightly loosen the drain valve. Where is it? Okay, so it should start flowing. As soon as there's a steady trickle, I'll stop. Okay, started. So I won't be unscrewing it anymore, because any more than that and it will start falling off right and left. So I'll wait for it to probably drain 2 to 3 liters, so that it's safe to remove the coolant pipe, crossover pipe at the top. So to make the flow easier, I just loosen the reservoir cap so that you can get some air entry. And I think that I have about a liter or so of fluid out already, so I'll wait for it a bit more. In the meanwhile, I'll try to see what can I do to remove the harness. So we have the harness loosened over here totally, but there is a harness that goes back and all the way comes to the front and connects to these I think these are injectors or glow plugs, not sure. Injectors, yeah. So what I'll do is that I've already disconnected from here and this section of the harness too. So the plan is that I'll disconnect all these 4 injectors, and then when it's totally loosened from the back, I'll just put it at the front so that it doesn't come in my way when I'm working on it. Because to remove the harness totally, it will be a bit difficult, because here you can disconnect it from here and here, but it goes down, and probably I'll have to remove battery and hunt out where it goes. But let's just forget it for a moment, and let's see if we can bring the harness all the way to the front and see if we can get access to the pump, which is right here. So I went ahead and removed some of those clips but the fourth one was behind this pipe, so I had to remove this pipe. So I just removed this clip and disconnected the pipe. As soon as I disconnected, some coolant started to flow, but given out air opening as well. So this circuit is now quickly emptying here. So I think it's more than enough. I'll just go ahead and close it, because I'm not getting any more coolant from here. But this is, I don't want to drain anymore. So I'll just turn the knob back. There it is, closed. And probably really an efficient way to remove the coolant without dropping a single. Oh, okay, there you go. And I can just pull my plug. Neato. Alright. So now I'll do the same thing over there and remove this crossover pipe totally. So I removed this hose from the pipe here at this end, but when I tried to remove it, I realized that there are a couple of poles behind it. So there was a 10 mm bolt down under, and then there was an 8 mm bolt which actually had this small plastic bracket which was holding on to pipe. So there was that tie clip which was connected to this bracket, and then this bracket then goes through the pipe bracket onto the mounting, whatever it is. So probably it's an engine mounting, or I'm not sure. I'll have to take it out now. So now the pipe should be okay to come out. So let's see. It's still connected with something. Okay, it's all good. Oh, I think I dropped the clip that was connected here. That's fine, I'll just pick it up. Let me just remove it. Okay, here's the pipe. So the pipe is out now. Let's see. So we now have a better visibility of the pump and the oil separator. So let me see what we want to do next. Before I move forward, I would like to show you how this pipe, how the bolts were fitted into the bracket. So there was that 8 mm bolt that went like this, and it had that smaller plastic bracket to hold that harness. And then there was a 10 mm bolt that was fitted like this. So this is how it came out. So next up we are going to remove a couple of fuel lines from the fuel filter. So this is the feed line to the high pressure pump, and this is the return line from the high pressure pump. So we are just going to remove these two lines, so that once these two are out, we have to remove them eventually. So once these two are out, we'll have a lot of space to actually go back. So to remove them, all we need to do is just push it down a bit, and then there are these two tabs. Press on them really hard and pull them up. So similarly this one will be a bit tricky because there's not much space in there. So yeah, I'll probably have to remove this one first, and then I'll have enough room to put both my fingers against it. So I've removed these pipes now. The end at the filter, that was a bit easy to remove, but the other one I had to actually use the straight head to push the tapes from the side. So even with one side fully pressed in, I was able to pull it up. So it can be a bit tricky, but not too difficult. So next up is removing the oil separator assembly, which is this guy over here. And to remove it, first of all, we have to disconnect these hoses from here and here. If they are stuck, just first of all make sure that you have unclipped the injector connectors, and then what you can do is that put a nose plier in there and just try to wiggle it around so that it comes loosens, and after that you can just plug it. Once you have removed these two hoses, then you need to remove this oil filter. So before you do that, just unscrew it 4 times so that air can enter it, and leave it for like 4 to 5 minutes so that it doesn't make too much mess when you take it out. One thing that the Heinz manual conveniently left out was that behind this separator assembly there is a pipe that's connecting to it. So there's a clamp on top of it which due to this limited area, it's quite difficult to remove. But the way I did is that I just had a nose plier, a bent one, so I just tried to pinch it with the nose plier, and then I had another flathead screwdriver and tried to push this pipe out. I also had some silicone spray which I sprayed here, so that it's relatively easier to take it out. So yeah, once it is out, you can just pull, and you can use 2 hands at a time. One with this tie, which must be attached to yours as well. If not, then you have to use this particular section, and the other hand with this one. It will be stuck really good, but yeah, just try to pull it out and it should become loose. Once it is loose, you can just conveniently try to make sure that you do not damage it, and just take it out of your way. Yeah, and when I try to pull this out, it's actually getting stuck with these and hitting these 2 fuel lines. So these are the fuel lines that go to and from the fuel cooler. So I don't want to really damage anything, but just trying to force it out of the way. So what I'll do is that I'll just disengage these fuel lines from here and over there. So these are the 2 clamps. So hopefully when they are loose, it'll give me enough slack to remove the separator from here. And again, to remove these fuel lines, start with this one. This is a small similar clamp to similar connected to what we have disengaged from here. Just push it and pull it back, pinch it and push it back, it will come out. The other one is already loose, which we have removed earlier, and this one's a bit tricky. So the trick to remove this is that I'm not sure if you can see this, but if you look close enough, actually this thing, you have to use a really small flat head and push in the bottom. So you'll try to push at the bottom, and then you'll use a second bigger flat head to pull it out. So I'll show you what it looks like. It's actually a notch that goes in there and gets stuck. So you can see that when I try to push it in, you can see that it's trying to come out. So let me see if I can show you here. Okay, I think now let's get it. I'll show you once I've taken it out. Okay, now it's out. Let me show you how it looks like. So this is how it looks like. So what you're trying to do essentially is that using the smaller screwdriver to push it from the bottom up, because it goes in there. So you're trying to push it up, and using a larger screwdriver to pull it up. So it'll flip up, and you'll have these 2 out. So now I'll remove the other 2, and then probably I'll have enough room to take the separator out. So I've taken out this oil separator assembly, and you can see that there is no bolt attached to it. There's nothing. All you need to do is just pull it up, and that's it. And the fuel lines I had to actually remove, and you can see that I had to pull them up I think above the cowl to get enough separation to get the separator out, and these 2 are completely removed. I didn't do anything. So these are just fuel lines, just go easy with them, but there's nothing sensitive about them. You can put them back. So once they are out, you can see that we have our big guy over here, and now the next thing that you need to do is remove the rear cover, the plastic cover. You can see apparently it's just clipped on with 2 clips, so 3 clips, 1 2 3. So as soon as we remove, then we should be able to just take out the cover. And once it is out, the next step would be to remove the pulley so that we can remove the belt safely. And there are a couple of connectors, you can remove them, and then we'll move to a couple of bolts they're over here. Just note that since we'll be removing the bolts, we need to make sure that nothing goes into the holes that are created by the oil separator. One thing, as much as I had to tell you, but yeah, that's the truth, that we removed some of these connectors uselessly. I mean, the manual told us to remove all these connectors, but we don't need to, because what will happen is that we get enough slack in here. The cover starts from over here and finishes over here, and the cable we can just manage to if you're just removing the cover, you can just manage to pull it left or front, remove the cover, so you can totally see the cover. It's totally clean. And once you're done with the cover, belt and everything, you can push these cables back, and there you go. You can see the your pressure pump over here, so it shouldn't be an issue. All right, let me now just remove the cover, and we'll go from there. So that's the cover that came out of it. So there are 3 clips. No, nothing. There are few notches that go into the side assembly. So once you have removed the clip, probably you just will lift it up and take it out. Now we'll have a look at what do we have behind here. So this is the pump that's being driven. Here's one of the cams, and this is the pulley. So to remove the belt, we have to remove this bolt. It's probably an 8 mm or 10 mm, so you have to be really careful with this one. It's not really easy to push this tensioner down to reset it at this position, because you really don't have too much room. So all you can do is just remove the bolt and remove the pulley. That way the belt will come off. Alright, taking this out was no drama. It was okay, easy peasy, no snap, no nothing. This tensioner looks like it has been recently replaced. I don't have the driver history for this car, so yeah, but it looks like this has been recently stripped. So ideally I would like to reuse it, and to reuse it I'll have to make sure that I have to rotate this counterclockwise so that I can put something in between here, and then it goes through to this position, or this one ideally. I tried moving it, but it's really rigid. Now I have to look at the belt. So once it is off, you can just pull the belt from behind. There's nothing holding it. So looking at this belt, it looks like in a really good shape. It looks like it has been recently replaced. So even though they say that every time you remove the belt you have to change it, but I think I'll reuse it. Now that we have removed the front belt cover, the belt itself, the pulley, the next step would be to remove the rear belt cover. So the manual says that there are 2 bolts, one over this, one over here, and the second one over here. Not sure if you can see that, this one. So if you remove these 2 bolts, then the rear cover should be easy to take out. But I think I was able to see a couple of bolts at the bottom of this plastic cover when I was taking out the pulley. So let's see how it goes. Now this is what the Hans manual shows. So I was able to remove this pulley and the drive belt. Now it says that there are these 2 bolts which I showed earlier. I've removed them. I am able to actually move this rear cover, but it's not coming off. It looks like it's stuck somewhere. So looking at it, I can actually see this one bolt over there, but it doesn't say that you have to remove it. So my guess is that probably it's just stuck and I have to pull the cover, because I think it's in 2 sections. One section goes from here all the way here and then goes up, and the other is the rest of the cover. So I'll probably try pulling it up and see whether it comes off. I think I know what the problem is. So the rear cover, this plastic cover, it's not coming off because this engine anchor point is actually bolted here, which goes to the right and then on top of the plate which I want to remove. So I have to remove this anchor point first, which has 2 bolts attached to it. Let's see if I remove it and then it comes out or not. So this one's out now. So there were a couple of number 10 bolts here, and there was a number 8 here. So for some reason, I mean, they decided to put number 8 in there. I mean, so the way it goes is that this thing sits on top of the rear plastic cover. So now it should be. Now these 2 bolts seem to be the last 2 bolts that are holding this power pump onto the engine itself. I'll remove them and see whether these are the last bolts. If they are, then I'll go ahead and disconnect the pipes, fuel lines. I ended up removing this bolt, but when I was removing this one, then it actually tried to spin another sleeve behind it. So I thought probably if I can remove these 2 bolts at the bottom, then maybe this bracket will come out, but it looks like it's not going to come out. So next I'm going to do is that I'll just remove these 2 fuel lines. So it's really easy. So So for this fuel line there is a nut over here, and on the other end it's just connected here. Here, yeah, this one. Similarly, the same connection goes to the left hand side. So I'll just remove these two and have a look at what else is actually stopping this power pump from coming out. I removed the fuel line from over here, and then I realized my mistake, because there are a couple of other Torx bolts, bolts that are actually holding the pump. That's the one, and there's one on the other side. I'm not sure if you can see it. So these are the two bolts that we need to remove before we can actually take out this pump. So the fuel line on the right is already removed, the left one is loose, and it should not hinder the way of the pump. So let me take this out and see if it works. I've removed the bolts at the rear. So there were two bolts, they were Torx bolts. I'm not sure what size goes into, but you can fit it in. Just make sure that you put the right size in, otherwise they're easy to get around it. So the next step is to, but it was still not coming out, so I had a look at it, and it looks like that the problem with this bolt is that if you try to remove it, sometimes it's a similar bolt on the right, but I did not have this problem on the right, but on the left I had this problem, because if I try to rotate it, the sleeve will try to come off with it. So I mean, if the sleeves come off with it, it will actually unscrew it and hit it against the plate, so it will be really difficult to take this out, because it will get stuck. There are lots of there will be a lot of friction force in it. So to release it, I would advise that put something. I had a flathead over here. Let me see if I can show you. So what I did was that if I wedge this flathead in between the bracket and the here, in between the bracket and this nut, then the sleeve, and then I can actually rotate it, and it will keep it from rotating the other one. So you have, with one hand you have to wedge it in between here, hold on, here, and with the next one you have to continue removing the bolt, and this way you can take it out. Right, I have it out here. So this was the sleeve that was making trouble for me, because it somehow, the screw that went in, I think it was thread lock or something, so it actually pulled this one apart too. The other sleeve on the other end was okay, but this one caused me a lot of trouble. So yeah, just to make sure that you know what you're doing. Looking at the pump, let's talk a bit about the theory of operation. So this, I believe, is the inlet port. So the fuel goes here. On the other end of the inlet port we have this volume control valve. So the volume control valve, if it's faulty, it will, the purpose of this volume control valve is to let a specific amount of fuel towards the high pressure pump. If it is faulty, if it's letting more in, then the pressure pump will create more pressure, and if it is leaving less pressure in, less volume in, then it will cause less pressure. Similarly, this is the pressure control valve. Ideally it should relieve more pressure, and this one is creating more pressure, but no, it doesn't work like this. Somehow the PCM is not intelligent enough. This is what I can think of, because in my case I believe that this guy has gone faulty, because it was letting more volume in, and this one wasn't. As soon as it is detected that's high pressure, this one will go into a limp mode. This will just get stuck and will not operate. So as soon as the PCM will throw an error, this guy will stop operating. So yeah, it goes in here, so a specific amount of fuel comes in. It's, I believe, 3 piston. So there are 3 pistons internally, which moves around, and there must be some pressure control mechanism here. If you open it up, there will be a pressure, and then there will be a piston, and this is the main pulley which gets power from the crank, and it moves it. So yeah, I think it looks in generally same to what we have in Land Rovers, but I will do a teardown video on this pump, and I'll try to see if it's the same as I can find. If I can find something from Land Rover, I try to compare these two, and otherwise I'll just compare the photos of Land Rover pump with this one, because usually it's a concern that whether we can put the territory into Land Rover or Land Rover into territory. But the experience that I have with this car, I think I tried putting some Land Rover fuel rail pressure sensors in, that didn't work. So even though they have exactly the same part number each and everything, for now I'm a bit I mean, I'm not really confident that we can put them across each other. So yeah, Next I'll start putting it in and probably make a video of installation too, but it won't be that long because the main problem was to take it out. Thank you.